Rule number 13, the sooner you admit your mistake, the better off you'll be. My beloved 76ers hired a guy by the name of Roy Rubin from Long Island University. Poor Roy. He finished 4-47 before the Sixers canned him. 4-47. Years later, Fred Carter said letting Rubin coach the Sixers was like letting a teenager run a big corporation. Hey, Fred, meet the Eagles head coach, Doug Peterson. Now, everyone knows Peterson isn't a head coach. He might be less qualified to coach a team than anyone I've seen in my 30-plus years in the NFL. Peterson was barely a coordinator before he became head coach. Can you imagine if we elected a United States president who didn't have any real training? Sorry, don't answer that. Look, the Eagles looked increasingly sloppy and unprepared as the 2016 season limped along. That ain't changing in 17. Only Carson Wentz can save Peterson's job, and Wentz actually got worse during his rookie year, not better. When will the Eagles admit their mistake? Will they throw away 17 stubbornly sticking to the Peterson principle? The immortal Roy Rubin lasted 51 games. I bet Doug Peterson lasts way less than that.
Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show. That was Mike Lombardi, the former NFL executive, talking about Doug Peterson yesterday on The Ringer. Let's go out to the hotline and welcome in someone we always love to talk to when it comes to football, and that's the former NFL tight end Luther Broughton, who was a former Philadelphia Eagle and actually played and knows Doug Peterson very well, and Luther's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Luther, appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, buddy, what's happening? How are you?
I'm doing great. Always love to talk football with you. You heard the Lombardi comments on the way in when you were on hold. Your reaction about what Mike Lombardi said about your former teammate?
Hot take, hot take, hot take.
Right?
Come on, man. That was a little over the top. Whether you like Doug or not as a coach, I mean, come on. Look at the guy who we fired right before Doug. He started out good, but he had super talent. We had Deshaun Jackson at receiver, Jeremy Maclin. We had Shady McCoy at running back, so forth and so on. And he was a decent offensive coach. At the time, he couldn't make any adjustments. I don't know how prepared he was to be an NFL head coach. He showed in San Francisco that he wasn't prepared as well. I think this is an extremely hot take. I think it's really disrespectful. The Eagles were a rebuilding team last year. We did finish 7-9. Now, he did hedge his bet by saying the only thing that could save Doug is Carson Wentz. And probably because he's pretty high on Carson Wentz and know there's a chance that Carson could lead us to some more wins. So he hedged his bet in that comment. I thought that was a super hot take.
I agree with you, Luther, and I'll say this, because you're right. It was a rebuilding year last year. They still won 7 games. They had the hot start, but it was a disaster finish. He had to overcome a lot of adversity in year one, like Lane Johnson getting suspended. I know that's part of the business, but I'm someone that I've been skeptical of Doug, but even I thought it was over the top, because how can you say that this is a mistake after 16 games? You got to give them some time.
16 games, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're telling me this is a mistake because the team started to look sloppy in the first year. He's a first-year coach, never been a coordinator, but we have a former head coach as the defensive coordinator. I mean, can't he help? I'm not saying that's his job, but look at the staff. The staff is pretty experienced, you know? It's incredible that you could just come out and say things like that with no consequences, and it becomes a thing. I like Mike, but I thought that was an extremely hot take. I mean, I guess Cleveland decided kind of the same thing on him, so
yeah.
I guess he has experience in that, you know?
Luther Broughton with us. I'm not a fan of Mike Lombardi because he once came on this show, and after 10 minutes, he said it's the longest interview he's ever done, and he had to run. So I'm not a fan of Mike Lombardi, you know.
Oh, wow.
But getting back to Doug, and Doug has been someone that you saw in the first year that there were a lot of bad decision-making up against the Giants, up against the Cowboys, making the dumb 2-yard challenge play up against the Packers. There is a reason for concern, but you don't want to let go of a guy after 1 year. Then you turn into an organization like the Browns. But
Browns, then you turn into the Browns. If you're firing a guy because he made some aggressive decisions. He made some aggressive decisions, in my opinion, last year. Some of them were bad,
no question,
of course, right? But if they get the couple of fourth downs here, if Matthews doesn't fumble against the
Lions, yep.
If Smallwood
9-win
doesn't
team
fumble against Dallas, you're a 9 or 10-win team with a quote-unquote fairly unqualified head coach. You get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, it's ridiculous and it's too premature. But with that being said, after seeing what you did see this past year with Doug Peterson, what are the things that you like and what are the things that you say he needs to improve on?
I like the fact that he seems to be kind of a player's coach, gets his guys' input, and he seems to be holding guys accountable, which you want, especially with a team they're starting to get younger, but they're a veteran team. You don't want the deranged running the asylum. If I can get that out, I sound like an idiot here. You don't want the insane running the asylum.
Sure.
But you do want some input. I also one thing I don't like is, as a head coach, a new head coach with a lot on his shoulder, that he won't give up play calling.
You think he should?
I would love to see him CEO a little bit more. I know he came from Andy's blueprint and Andy called plays, but there was a point where Andy gave up some play calling. And Doug doesn't have much play calling experience. I would, and just some of the, and I guess we're armchair quarterbacks here. Just by some of the play calls, some of the decisions down stretch and whatnot in some of the games. I would love to have someone else who's calling plays and let Doug CEO. But I also would like to give the guy more than 16 games. Good gosh. I like the fact
think you're
that
right.
He's aggressive. Everybody wants to complain when an aggressive coach fails in the aggressive calls. But when they get it, they're genius. Oh, he's like Belichick. But you fail once and you're a loser. Come on. That's what we do, though. We're in a microwave age. Everything needs to happen immediately. We should have won the Super Bowl last year, but since we didn't, Doug sucks.
Well, I hear you. Time will tell, as we're talking with Luther Broughton right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Hey, moving forward to this week, getting off of Doug, Lane Johnson, we all know a few weeks ago, basically guaranteed the victory, saying they're going to go down to D.C. and open up a can of whoop-ass on the Redskins. What did you make out of Lane Johnson's comments, especially after what he went through last year?
I hate guarantees. I don't like it, but I like his. I like the fact that he's confident, and.
But he didn't need to voice it, is what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't know how the guys in the locker room take it. I don't know if he's one of the voices, but anybody can come out and say that. You get what I'm saying?
You got to back
Anyone
it up.
can come out and say it. You have to back it up, and you're 7-9 team coming off of an off season where you made more changes. How about go out there and just winning the game?
Especially when you're going up against a Redskins team that you lost to the last 5 times.
Last freaking 5-6 times. So I dig exactly what you're saying. I'd rather see him win some games with his play instead of his mouth. We're not, and you want to be confident going in. Great. You do want to be confident going in, but you don't want to be overconfident. But nonetheless, it's not going to win or lose the game. I tell you that. So we better get out there and play if you want to do that.
When you look at this offense, and they traded away Jordan Matthews, they got Ronald Darby, a move they had to make to get a corner like a Darby. But you look at who replaces the slot presence of Jordan Matthews. I know a lot of people are looking at Nelson Aguilar, but the person I look at is a tight end in Zach Ertz. What type of season do you think Zach Ertz has this year?
I've taken him on every single fantasy team I could because I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he's going to have a ton of targets. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. but it's time for him to step his game up. I know people have been very critical of him. He's put up pretty good numbers, but I want him to put up non-hollow numbers. I want him to put up numbers in games that counts. He's got a ton of ability, and I think this is the year where he steps up. He's going to get more targets. He's going to get more singles because we've got more receivers out there. So I think this is the year that Zach takes another step.
When you look at this offense in its entirety, with Carson Wentz entering year number 2, and I'm a big fan of Carson Wentz. Now he has some weapons to throw the ball to. The running back situation, some people don't feel great about the running backs. But overall, with the offensive line that they have, how do you evaluate this offense headed into the 2017 season?
Oh, man, I think we have a good quarterback who very well could jump off the charts this year with some receivers out there who will hold on to his balls. That didn't sound good.
Hey, Luther, you know what's funny? Let me interrupt you real quickly. We play this audio clip almost every day when you were on our show last time, and this is the audio clip.
Can I say give him a BJ on the radio?
You gave us one of the great audio clips of all time when you were talking with us last year. That was unbelievable. So it's funny you bring that comment up that you just had.
Oh, my God, I'm bad. But, yeah, if they can hold on to his passion, and then I know we have a lot of fluidity going on in the running back position, but I think Wendell Smallwood can carry the load. I really think he can. I don't know about LeGarrette Blount. He looks like he might be on the wrong side of 30, but I don't want to be premature based on a few preseason games. If we're basing everything on preseason games, I could probably be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, my first preseason with the Panthers, I led the league in receiving. I'm the man. Oh, wait, let's take a step back. Preseason doesn't really count, Luther. You were a backup tight end in the NFL for 5 years. So
it's a good point.
I want to give them a chance to play a couple games. I wish Smallwood was healthy in the preseason, but then again, he might have saved some legs.
You look at this team, and I know it's going to sound very cliche, but this year I think it comes down to the battle in the trenches, the offensive line and defensive line. The defensive line looks like they could be a great unit, but the question is, can they consistently be great? In the offensive line, they had a lot of depth. They still have some depth, but they made some trades, and you look at Peters, you just hope Peters doesn't break down at the age that he's at. So this offensive line, defensive line, I think it makes or break the season this year.
I don't think I can kind of say it better. I think we win with the guys up front. We need to keep Carson upright, but those guys up front are going to have to make a difference. We are going to have to get after other people's quarterbacks, and I think with a fresh rotation and a good D-line, we could do that because we're not as bad as we were last year, but we're not great at the back end. But if we can get after the quarterback, it doesn't matter who you have at corner. It does matter, but you can get away with more in the back end if you get after the quarterback.
Are you a big Barnett fan?
The Patriots in the Super Bowl both times, they destroyed the front four, destroyed New England's line. Are
you a big Barnett fan?
I like Barnett. I like what he did in the preseason. I didn't pay a lot of attention to him because I'm a huge Clemson fan, and I was all about Clemson last year. I paid a lot more attention to the ACC last year, but I think he's a good player. He broke all of Reggie White's records at Tennessee, but that doesn't really mean much when it comes to this level. But we'll see. He looked the part early on in the preseason, so we'll see.
All right, I'll end you on this as we're talking to the great Luther Broughton right now, who is a preseason type of player that was just a monster, and he was going to the cannon based off his preseason. Your feel on this season?
1 year's preseason.
You got to make sure that I'm getting that right. Your feel though on this regular season. We'll ask the preseason master to give us the breakdown on the regular season. What happens this regular season? How many wins for the Birds?
Oh boy! So I am one of these people of the opinion that you can't say that you have a tough schedule in the preseason because you have no idea what these teams are going to be. You have no idea. Everyone's like, man, we look like we have a tough schedule. Well, the people who were playing the Panthers last year thought that they were having a tough game with the Panthers last year, and they went from 15-1 to third or fourth in the division. You don't know until the season starts. So we start out with Washington, and we think, we could beat them, of course. But you're playing an NFC East team on the road, right? I think we win, but if we lost, it wouldn't be a big surprise. Then we go and play Kansas City, who I think is going to be another really good team this year, possibly win the division. It's going to be tough to win at Arrowhead. Then we play the Giants. Again, another 50-50 game. It's the NFC East. We can all beat each other. I think we beat the Chargers. I think we beat Arizona. And then we come to Carolina, and we have no idea what they're going to be this year. I think they're good enough to take a huge step up from what they were last year. We played Redskins again twice in the first 7 games. And so I say we could start the season easily being 4-3 or 5-2.
It sounds like you think this team's going to the playoffs this year.
I think this team could play for the division. We were a couple fumbles away from being tied with Dallas last year with about 6 games to go. But if my grandma had, and so you can finish that one off. It's not a game of ifs. You are what your record says you are, and we didn't. We did fumble because that's who we had on our team. So we didn't do it. But our quarterback has a full year under his belt. Our head coach has a full year under his belt. Our quarterback is no longer throwing to lazy ball droppers. Actually, I'm talking about one guy here in particular, DRG. But he's got Alshon Jeffrey, who's snagged the ball. He's got Torrey Smith, who's a veteran who can actually play football. He's got Zach Ertz coming back again. Then we have, I don't know about.
What do you make out of Aguilar? I can't have any confidence with him.
I
know
don't
some people
have
are
any
high on him.
confidence with him. I really hope he improves, but I don't have any confidence. He spent 2 years showing us what we can do. It's not like this is one off season and we go, oh, let's write him off. He spent 2 years showing us that he couldn't play football for the most part. But maybe he makes a step with less pressure. He'll be the third guy, and less pressure. People are looking at the new guys to make a difference. Maybe he takes a step forward, right? Which will be great. We did spend a first-round pick on him, so that would be great if we can actually get something out of him.
Hey, Luther, we appreciate it. Always enjoy to talk to you. We look forward to talking to you again as the 2017 season does move forward.
Appreciate you, fellas.
No
Go
problem.
Eagles. Can I say give him a BJ on the radio?
Luther Broughton with us right there on the Zach Gelb Show. Had to get that in one more time. When he was saying what he said, I just looked up and I go, all right, let's see if he goes a little bit further with this one. If he does, I'm playing the sounder. But we were talking about, I was at a restaurant, so we were doing one of the Corona shows. And one of the shows powered by Corona. I think I was at, where were we? On the Border, I think, was the name of the restaurant in Jersey. And he's talking about Doug, and he's talking about how the fan base wanted to give him a you-know-what after the first few games. And he goes, can I say give him a
BJ on the radio?
And that was one of the very fine moments of the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. So good stuff talking to Luther Broughton. 5:35 Zach Gelb Show. I don't know where we're going from here. It's one of those wacky Tuesdays. Back from a vacation. We'll wrap up shop right after this. We'll be back. We'll get into the Yankees. We'll get into the Mets. We'll get into the Phillies when we come back. And also a little bit more of the NFL. As the season starts on Thursday. And then Sunday, you got the EAGL ES Eagles.
EAGL, ES